Hi everyone, welcome to Senior Momentum. I'm your host, Sean Dillman. This is the podcast about helping seniors continue to move forward with strength as time goes by. This podcast is put on by lastwishvideo.com, and today as my guest I have Roy Summerhayes of Seniors101.ca. How are you today, Roy?
Very well. Good afternoon.
Okay, great. So, Roy, would you like to start and just tell us a bit about yourself and Seniors101.ca?
Well, Seniors 101 is a web page, a web magazine, and it's been going 16 years now. And it came about in a time that's different to now. 16 years ago, Mrs. Google didn't dominate everything. And there were many of them, Firefox, a whole bunch of them. And my wife at that time had a private home care company, and we shared an office. And I realized that Trish spent an awful lot of time on the phone explaining to people how the health system works. Island Health it is now. And it was taking a huge part of her time, although that was a part of her appeal, that people could talk to her and she could custom it. Being who I am, I always try to look for a way of doing things easier, not necessarily quicker, but easier. So I asked around, and then fortunately, some short courses came up on Malaspina College, Vancouver Island University, that is now. And I started going there because I realized I didn't speak the language. I could talk to people out there who were really good at what they do, but they might just as well have been speaking in German. So I know as much about that as I did about the language of computers. So I went there primarily to learn the language. And that worked for a while. And I had a young lad who was doing the technical stuff. In actual fact, he was the grandson of a good friend of mine. And he just come out of some school in Vancouver. And he said, he could do it for you. So I spoke to him. And he was a charming young man. The only problem was he wouldn't look through my eyes. He couldn't look through my eyes because what I was looking for and what he was just so anxious to put into action, from his side, it was all flashes and moving things. And he kept saying, no. We got to slow this down a bit. It's got to be easy to read and easy to use. So on one of these courses, there was a charming lady giving it, and she was my sort of teacher. She worked to the speed of the slowest ship, just like in a convoy. She wasn't running in front of anyone. She made sure everybody knew where she was and what she was talking about.
Yeah, that's a good teacher.
Yeah. So at lunchtime, I asked her, do you do custom work? And she said, yes, I do. I said, well, in reality, I don't need the rest of this. And she laughed, but I did. I mean, that was just talking figuratively. And she took over from the young lad. As an aside, with the young lad, the embarrassing bit at the time was he was the son of a good friend of mine. And now I had to fire his grandson. To which he laughed and said, I wouldn't have hired him in the first place. So that worked out all right. But Josie Byington is still there, as is her partner, Ian. And over time, I got her to set up my webpage so that as a non-techie, I could use it. And my analogy with that is I can drive most cars, but I can't fix engines. I don't need to. There are people who are trained to do that. So I had the page set up that I could do it all from the visual side. And it worked like a charm. So that's a long way around how we came to day one. And I plagiarized everything that was available at the time. Brochures, pamphlets, just trying to get stuff that was suitable or enjoyable or useful to seniors on Vancouver Island. And when I had enough together, we went live. I guess at the time, there was probably 10% or less of what we have now. Where we are now, we're reasonably popular. We get over 1 million hits a year and have done for the last few years.
Wow.
And it's geared at seniors. It is easy to use and easy to read. We also recognize that less than 10% of seniors are in care. The rest of them, like me, on the outside, looking for interesting items, Where are we going to go for supper tonight? What's on at cinemas? What's everywhere?
Yes.
You see, seniors are not a subspecies, much to bureaucrats' chagrin, because bureaucrats would love to pigeonhole everybody, and it makes it easy because it compensates because they can't see things in a bigger picture. So we gear at that, and it pays handsomely because that's a recurring comment that we get. So 101 was going nicely. Then rising to a challenge, my wife said to me one day that she knew a lot of ladies in Qualicum that wrote either poetry or articles and this sort of thing. But the sad bit was they had nowhere to put the finished articles. There was no platform, which we call it now. I sound as if I know what I'm talking about.
What year would you say this was, Roy?
Oh, 10, 12 years ago.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to gauge kind of where. So Seniors 101 had already been running for about 5 years at that point.
We've already been going 4 or 5 years by that.
Okay. Thank you.
So then I created Island Woman magazine. And that went over as well. There are a lot of people, very talented people, but they don't get a chance to let the public aware of what they can do and let the light shine on them. And that worked well. I then at the same time started another one, Vancouver Island Now, but I use Vancouver Island Now as my toy. If I want to try something new, I don't go into 101. I go into there, and if it works, so be it. We can transfer it over.
That's smart.
Yeah, I was good. Sorry?
What kind of things do you toy with? Do you mean like a new type of an article or a new segment or
in programs or the look of the thing, changing different images and that sort of thing.
Yes.
But it has a life in its own right and has a following in its own right. And it's focused on Vancouver Island, as they all are, but from entertainment and travel. And so we've got the three of them going. And just to prove I still like the challenge, second time I've said that, people have said to me for years, could I put something in writing? And I said no, because I had a brief run with magazines in the 70s.
Yes.
And the thing I learned to hate was deadlines.
Yes.
It was constantly another deadline. And accuracy was a problem. You could proof it, should we say, for an advertisement. You send it to your client, they proof it, we proof it, and the phone number's wrong when it's printed. That really ticked me off.
Yeah, I've had issues with that in my work. I actually did an application a while ago for a client, and it was for a citizenship application, and 3 or 4 people proofed the thing, including the applicant. Everybody looked at it, and at the end of the day, where it said the date, where it said 2021, it said 2027. Four people, and if anybody on here has has dealt with the what do they call it, Immigration Canada and Citizenship Canada, the typo, which is such an obvious typo, because of course she didn't sign it in the future. She's it was supposed to say 2021, not 2027, but unfortunately that typo set us back many months because we needed to correct the typo. So anyway, no, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I understand completely what you mean, that you can have all of these different people take a look, and then the mistake still happens, and those are really frustrating. So I hear you.
Yeah. And again, it's a bureaucratic thing, and I'm not knocking bureaucrats. I mean, we need them, and 99% of the time they're really good. You always get the one. After all, you got me. And I know over the years, I worked in the lumber industry and in aquaculture, and you could spend all this time putting it together, and they send it back because a comma's in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And you can say, put it right. It'd be just being simplistic.
Yeah,
so
I hear you.
And I didn't look back to that. So. But sometimes you got to listen to your users. It doesn't matter what I think about Seniors 101, does it? It's what the users are looking for, and our advertisers are happy with.
How much feedback? How much feedback would you say that you get from people that use the site? Do you get a lot of emails or comments or phone calls?
Yeah, we do. And one of the interesting and rewarding things on Seniors 101 is that we have a helpline, and I get phone calls and emails from all around the world and back again. Some of them, I wonder why they're phoning me, but a lot of it is they just want to speak to someone. It's getting harder and harder to speak to somebody.
It's true. It's true.
You know, you phone the mega companies for service in English, press 1. Are you sure you want English? And it just goes on, and this voice keeps shouting at you.
It's true. During the pandemic, I tried to call a store. I won't say which store it is. It's a chain. I tried to call the one here in Victoria, and then I tried to call the one in Duncan, and I couldn't actually. There was no option to speak with a person at the store. There just wasn't an option, and I just thought that was such a shame. I'm old enough to remember that, you should be able to phone a building and speak with somebody in the building, speak with somebody there. And, there's a lot of companies and groups that are setting it up so that you can't even get somebody on the phone. So I hear you, Roy.
That's right. I've had that experience this week. I bought a new computer. Wow. This one's not steam fired. And I wanted to talk to somebody about it. So I phoned the company it was purchased from. And I kept getting this phone call, which sent me back east. And over 2 days, I called several times. And I said they would eventually answer at the other end. I thought, I just want to speak to somebody.
Yes.
Your department in Duncan, I could actually go face to face. No, we don't do that. You've got to send an email. Well, the lady was wrong when she said you don't have to do that. Because I did. No, I didn't. I didn't use them. So be careful, But anyway, the long-winded way, we're now in print. And because I know nothing about that sort of thing, I had to find someone who did. And I found a guy that you actually know, Sean, Matthew Powell.
Yes.
And Matthew and I have been around about the same length of time. He was with Senior Living magazine. They call themselves Inspired, 55 now.
Yep.
And ran the idea by him. And we're very much akin as far as personalities go. And we've held safety meetings on the last Friday of the month for several years now, where we decide which pub we meet in to have this health and safety meeting. Yeah. But it sounds flippant, but it's not. It's brainstorming. And you sit around a table and the conversation leads itself. You may go in with preset ideas. But anyway, long-winded, yes, we went. And the first one we brought out was Nanaimo Seniors Directory. And that came from the printers on the 1st of September. And we were delighted. And fortunately, so were other people. The thing they're impressed about when they first see it and handle it is the looks and the feel of it. And that has nothing to do with me or Matthew. It was my wife, Trish, who said, if you're going to do something in print, could you make it small enough that would fit in my purse? And could you make it substantial enough that when I handle it 2 or 3 times, it doesn't fall to pieces?
Yeah.
So we followed that. And to say, in all honesty, for the good things we've had said about it, it is the physical being of that directory that wins the day.
Yes.
As a result of that success, we've now come out with Victoria Seniors Directory.
Yes.
And that came off the press on the 1st of May. And again, it's the response is just so encouraging. I mean, so often we work at things and it just fizzles,
Did you mean that the first version came out in September and then now this most recent one has just come out this past May?
No, the September was Nanaimo Seniors Directory.
Yes, but I mean, sorry, is that just the September that's just passed?
Yes.
Okay.
And the Victoria one came out May 1. Now I'm working on this year's Nanaimo's directory. So we're going for the 2nd edition.
Oh, wow.
And like all things, it's getting easier, or at least we've got something tangible.
Yeah.
Because until you actually do something, no matter what it is, it's hypothetical.
Yes.
Until you actually do it. So I've always been a believer of do it and see, and it doesn't always work. And I've got scars to prove that. But this one did. So we're working on, the 2nd Nanaimo one. And just to prove we're totally stupid, come September, we're starting on the Cowichan Valley one.
Oh, wow.
So from saying I would never go print, I've now got 3 web magazines, and we will have 3 print directories. So never say never.
Good for you. Good for you. Where can people get the ones that are in print?
Predominantly from advertisers. Bear in mind, there couldn't have been a worse time for us to do this. Take the September one. We agreed to do that in February last year.
Mm-hmm.
And in March, the sky fell in.
Yes.
So it was all done by email and on the phone. And that's not my way of doing things at all. I need to talk to people face to face to explain what I'm doing.
Yes.
So predominantly then, it was our advertisers. They like that because it's something tangible they can give their clients, their customers. But we also put it into senior centers and trying to think where else. Some went into Chamber of Commerce office, some was at City Hall.
Yes.
Distribution is every bit as much an experiment as producing the thing in the first place.
Yes.
And now we went to Victoria and we've handed those out to Silver Threads and Saanich Volunteers and a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
But again, they're still sitting on those copies because they're not open.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the easiest start, but I have been mailing some copies out. I don't want to do that for thousands, but to spread the word. And several of the churches, we have, that was a surprise. There's quite a big churches section in there, and that was suggested to us, and we listened. And a number of the churches, I emailed them with what we were going to put in the print, and was the contact information right, and all that sort of thing. And quite a lot of them were really enthusiastic. So once we had a product, I got in touch with them and said, "How many copies do you want?"
Yes.
So some of the churches are going to be handing it out to their congregation and supporters.
Yes.
So we're developing.
That's good.
Some people have a few from people with living in apartment buildings wanting to know how they could get them. Could we deliver? We're working on it. But it's trial and error, but it's getting there. And like most things, if it's good enough, you can work at it, and with time, it will work.
Yes, and you can always refine it and make it better as it goes along. And
of course, they are available online. If you go to the homepage of Seniors 101, there they are. Both directories there. One click and you're on board. It's one of the beauties of the computer because we use the computer to market the print, and it works very well. The other thing is that 101 over the years, forget print, forget all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when we started, it became a good tool for what is typically the North American family. Mum lives in Victoria, daughter's in Toronto, and the granddaughter's in Sydney, Australia.
Yes.
And now Mum's she's going to need some help. And the feedback from care communities, they go on the phone, all together on the phone, and on the web at the same time. And if they were looking for communities, they go through Seniors 101's section on that. And what they found is that was doing the footwork for them. So they could narrow it down, say, to 2 or 3 that might work. Yes. So that when the daughter came out, they weren't just wandering aimlessly. 101 had given them the basics. And that's a common feedback. So that's encouraging too.
Yeah. No, that's fair. It's a great resource. And even at the beginning of when we were talking, you said that essentially when you started, you just found as many resources as you could find, and you'd put it on there, and that's largely it's a large directory, which is of central use and utility, that you've got all of this information in a centralized place. In addition to having articles and other things on there, but. Yeah, I hear you. The resource sections are incredibly useful, just to have everything in one place that somebody can go to and they can find it.
And the other thing to remember, of course, I mentioned earlier, seniors not being a subspecies, just under 10% of seniors are in care. Mm-hmm. The other 90% of us are just as we were. we still have wants and needs. They may change over time, but we still have them. We still have to get through one day at a time. And I don't mean that in a sad way. We're planning what's at our fingertips. And the web has made it easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we look for something new, so there is a good side to the computers. You know, we hear lots of sad stories with cons. You know, people who are going on there and getting them on either by phone and emails, that type of thing. But it is a very useful tool. And the thing about computers, and my directories on there, it's available to you no matter where you are in the world and when you want it.
It's true.
That is the biggest thing, I think.
Yes, it's true. It is a very much on-demand resource. You know, people are using it now in ways that, you know, how do I get to this street address? You just ask your smartphone, or you ask the computer, you know, how do I convert, you know, centimeters into inches or something? You know, how do I do a fraction? How do I do this? How do I fix my microwave? How do I find this kind of a person? All of these questions, it's true, you know, you just go and you ask, you know, Google typically, and there you go, you know, you get an answer. Actually, I wanted to ask you as well. Do you remember how did we meet? I think that we met about 5 years ago. I remember that I wrote an article for Seniors 101.
Yeah, we met at the Elderly Friendly Community Network.
That's right.
Which is a Victoria organization, and it was held in the Wellesley, and just there on Blanchard, and just before Hillside.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we met there and we're talking. We actually went and to Tim Hortons right across the road, and that's when we spoke about writing.
I do remember that. Okay, yeah.
You see, this is showing the silly side of me. I cannot remember names.
Mm-hmm.
I really can't. You can introduce me to someone, and 2 minutes later say, what did you think of who? You know, someone said, I haven't a clue what they're talking about. But 9 times out of 10, I'll tell you where we met and what we spoke about. But I can't remember your name.
That's fair, but you're right. I do remember that. We went to the Tim Hortons after the meeting so that we could keep talking, because we couldn't keep talking at the EFCN meeting because it was beginning, and then the meeting happens, and then it's over. So we couldn't stay at the Wellesley because you can't stay there forever. They say shoo, it's time for you to leave. So we went to Tim Hortons. That's right.
If I remember rightly, the article you wrote was because you'd been to the movie the night before or whenever. And was it Face at the Window, a Lady on the Train?
Yes, Lady on the Train.
Yeah. And that was what your first article shot from.
Oh, you're right about that. Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, you're right. I remember that now.
Yeah, you scratched your left ear 3 times, too.
I don't know if I believe that, but... Your memory is much better than mine. You're right. I had forgotten because I was trying to think. I had assumed that we met at an EFCN meeting. I was thinking, okay, that must be it. But yeah, I didn't remember the details. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's been in limbo, obviously, since March of last year.
Yeah, well, haven't we all?
Yeah, Matthew is still basically holding the reins on it, and with a bit of luck, perhaps come September, October. We'll get together physically again. There's going to be a few Zooms.
Yes.
But you should consider coming again, John. Great. And the people that go to the Elderly Friendly Community Network, they all work or have issues and concerns in a good way with seniors and the seniors industry. And it is an industry. People may not like the sound of that, but that can be everything from hands-on, whether you're a nurse, a care aide, a janitor, but there's also lawyers and accountants and real estate agents that actually focus, predominantly on that. So there's a wide range of people there. And that's really useful if you're in the seniors industry at all, because somebody will ask you a question and you think, I know someone who spoke to me about that. Who was it? And it was through there. in the meantime, with us not meeting, I created a webpage for them on Seniors101, and you can scroll on there. And there is what we've got. They didn't all take part, and that's to be expected. We've all been all over the map with them. But there's a good cross-section of people there. And if you go in and just click on the elderly friendly, it gives you the outline of who they are, who we're appealing to. And there's lots of pretty pictures of some of the participants and their contact information and what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. You're right about that. I'll have to reconnect. It's been too long. And, you know, with the pandemic, so many of us have, you know, I don't know, I guess kind of retreated to, you know, bare necessities, you know, like, you know, for many months, you know, like many people, you know, I barely did anything except for the same thing every day, you know, wake up and have breakfast and go to work and then go home and stay there. And you know, that was almost every single day, you know, even weekends. I wasn't really doing anything else whatsoever. So yeah, when things start opening up again and, you know, coming back to life, that sounds wonderful. Yes, yeah. Is there anything that you wanted to kind of say that we didn't talk about, or say, you know, a final message or anything?
I'm very fortunate with this. I enjoy what I'm doing. I need to have a reason to get up in the morning. If I don't have something to do, I get into trouble real easy. And I think that is an issue with a lot of people that retire. That, you know, one day they've been in the office or whatever at 8 o'clock till 4, and suddenly they don't get up. And that may be nice for a week or two, but after that, what the hell do you do?
Sure.
And for me, that's what I love about this, is that I've got these things on the go, but I can do within reason what I like. I mean, you asked me yesterday, could I do this? Well, sure.
Yeah.
I'm here. I have the freedom, but also the commitment to what I do to give me a good reason to get up in the morning and sometimes do something that's vaguely useful.
That's right.
Here I end. It's the third lesson.
I appreciate it, Roy. I appreciate all of it.
Okay, mate. Well, good to see you.
Yes, good to see you as well. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day.
Oh, it's all right. It's my pleasure. I'm glad our roads crossed again, and I'll certainly be in touch when more comes at the Elderly Friendly Community Network, and it will be all over my website. All that talking has got to be beer time.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Roy.
Thanks, mate. Enjoyed it.